Hello and welcome back to the KCC channel. I'm Rob and I hope you are having a wonderful day today. Today, we're jumping into some malicious compliance. Our first story today comes to us from DC Wicker 05. You said 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Let's jump right in. Strap in, it's a ride worth the read in my opinion. I worked for a trucking company. They made sucrose for different food plants in the area, Turkey Hill, Pepsi, etc. My job was to wash the inside of the liquid sucrose trailers so they could be reloaded. This was done by hooking them up to an automated wash system. I drove the lot, picked up an empty trailer, took it to the 2-trailer wash bay building, hooked it up and ran the cycle. Then parked the wash trailer in the loading staged area. I was hired as a temp to replace the previous first shift guy who injured his knee. When I was hired, him and a guy who kinda knew the job taught me how to do it, but there was only one official first shift person who knew the job. The other guy just could kinda fumble his way through it. Then there was a second shift guy who knew the job as well. The job required you to be extremely active. You worked in a room that would sometimes seem like it rained from all the steam condensing on the ceiling because you were washing 2 at a time with 190-degree plus water for a 20-minute session. I ended up being hired full-time from the temp agency. The company actually bought out my contract because I was doing so well, and the first shift guy ended up retiring due to his injury. About a year later, the second shift guy quits out of nowhere, so they hire a new guy, and now I have to train him. This guy is less than good at the job. I keep telling management that, but you know, they're management. Eventually, he ends up dropping a trailer off the lift truck before putting the lift down, bending the landing gear and doing $11,000 in damage. Anytime there's an accident, they require a drug test. He tested positive for coke and was fired. I ended up having to do first and second shift by myself since I was the only person who knew the job. It wasn't that bad because second shift didn't have as many trailers, so a 10-hour day and I'd usually be done. Eventually, they hired a new guy, very big fellow, and this didn't seem like a fit for him. About 3 months in, the loaders come over cause there's no clean trailer staged. They found him passed out on top of a trailer. They honestly thought that he'd had a heart attack or something, but it turned out he was just drunk, so he got fired. Guess who's back to working both shifts? At first, it wasn't too bad. I could get 4 trailers done in an hour, so 32 in an 8-hour shift if I'm busting butt. There was literally no way to do it any faster since there's a 20-minute wash cycle and you still have to pull 2 trailers in and hook them up. Normally, there were about 25 trailers for first shift and 8 to 10 for second shift. But then, a company that took 5 dry trailers a shift for first and 3 to 5 a shift for second tripled their order for wet trailers due to their on-site processing plant going down. I went from 10-hour days to working from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. for like a month straight, in the summer, in a building that got about 10 plus degrees hotter than the ambient air was. I kept telling my supervisor, my plant manager, and the company manager that I couldn't keep this up. I kept being told I had to do my job. Do as you're told. One time I worked from 6 a.m. to 1 a.m. Thursday and back in at 5:30 a.m. Friday. That was the day I caused $5,000 in damages. I backed a trailer out without unhooking it first, ruining the hoses, and pulling a pump off the mounts. So now I had to get drug tested, and since the last 2 guys failed, on the drive there, my manager asked me if I was going to fail. I said it depends on what they test for. He said they test for everything. I asked if that included caffeine and exhaustion. He just kind of blankly looked at me, then turned back to the road. Drug test passed, taken back to work. Now I have 1 wash bay to use due to the damage I caused, and I have to back into it because it's the first bay that's broken in a pull-through setup, and maintenance is there repairing it. I ended up being there till almost 1 a.m. again. Monday, I come in having almost fell asleep on the drive. I pulled my manager aside, the plant manager aside, and the owner's son aside. They all said, just gotta do the job I was hired to do what I'm told. They said they're working to find a new person, so I just need to keep doing my trailers. So Tuesday, that's what I did. When I was hired, I was told my schedule was 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., and the trailers in that time slot were mine, along with the first 2 second shift trailers, if they were there by 2:30 p.m. So I got there at 7, did only the first shift trailers and 2 second shift trailers as I was told when I got hired, and clocked out at 3 p.m. I shut my phone off and took my girlfriend to the fair. The next morning, I went in at 7 once again and got to work. The supervisor and plant manager get in at 9, and 9:05, they're in my office. I get escorted to the office of the owner's son, where he proceeded to chew me out for a solid 45 minutes. I just sat there and let him rant. Turns out, once I left, my supervisor and plant manager had to do my job. And you know, since they were supervisors and plant managers, obviously they were trained in the position and knew exactly what to do. Sarcasm. They managed to do 4 trailers from 5 p.m. when they realized I left until midnight. This is the same amount I could do in 1 hour. So once his rant was over, I said, "Well, clearly you're not going to fire me." He was taken aback. I continued, "You have no one who can do my job. You didn't take me seriously when I said I couldn't do it alone anymore. And so I decided I'd show you how important I was. I've got a kid and a life outside this job. The pay is great, but I'm not going to kill myself to get it and put in 90 to 110 hour weeks in the dead of summer. You said 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. when I got hired. That was what I was told. So that's what I did. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to give me a raise and 3 weeks paid vacation. You're going to let me pick the guy who takes second shift. If you can't find someone willing to take second, I will then train them on first and transfer to second when they're fully trained. But I'll get the shift differential on top of my raise if I do that." He looked at me like I just robbed him, but then after a solid 5 silent minutes, he agreed. See, each trailer that didn't get washed the night before was assessed a late fee by the company who it went to, anywhere from $500 to $5,000, and just last night, I had cost them $21,000 in fees. I think he realized that would quickly be a problem if they had no one to wash any trailers. We ended up pulling over the guy who kinda knew how to do the job from first shift that helped train me when I started there. He took first shift and I went to second. I ended up being the highest paid employee in the wet department and any department that wasn't management or QC actually, in only 2 years of being there, when there were guys who had been loaders for 15 plus years. I stayed another year or so, but eventually it was more nonsense and I had my fill. I think a lot of workers in a lot of positions don't actually know their worth to the company. If you don't know your worth to the company, you need to sit back and think about it. How many other people can do the job that you do with minimal training? Because if the answer is that anybody else could do your job, then it might be time to look for some up training or even some outside training to further your position and get you into a better spot. Do me a quick favor, have a look down below the video. If that subscribe button's still red, it means you're not actually subscribed to the KCC channel. Please hit that subscribe button for more daily Reddit stories. Our second story today comes to us from Redman082001. Don't want to give me my bacon? That's fine. Let's jump right in. This happened to me about a year ago during the peak of COVID, and I thought I would share it. There were several restaurants that were struggling last year, somewhere near the peak of COVID. Several shut down completely, and others fired all of their staff just to try to stay afloat. Around this time, my wife and I made it a habit to order takeout from our favorite establishments. We always tip the standard 20% plus, despite these always being takeout orders. One restaurant in particular forgot to include the bacon that was supposed to come with our order. The order was around $20 with a tip of around $5, so around $25 total. When you picked your order up from this restaurant, you had to park and come inside. There was no drive-through or curbside pickup. On this particular day, I picked up our order as usual and drove home about a 5-minute drive. We immediately discovered that the bacon we had ordered was missing, so I called the restaurant. I expected to call and simply have them refund the $3 cost of the bacon. Simple enough, right? Wrong. This restaurant only had one person working the front, so when you called, you knew exactly who you were speaking with. When I called and stated that they must have forgotten to include the bacon, before I had a chance to ask for any type of resolution, refund, replacement, etc., this person informed me that there was a large sign in the restaurant instructing customers to check their orders for accuracy before leaving the store. As it turns out, the sign they mentioned was there. The instructions for checking your order was one of the about 5 notes hastily written on a piece of printer paper taped to a wall. It was out of the way, not obvious, and sloppily handwritten. However, I had failed to read this note and I had failed to check my order for accuracy before leaving the store. I admitted this and asked them to either refund the $3 or I could come pick up the missing bacon. Definitely not a preferred option, but whatever. The restaurant refused these requests, told me the missing bacon was my fault, and went as far as to question whether the bacon had actually been forgotten, stating that they remembered packing my order. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. They had basically accused me of lying about $3 worth of bacon that was missing from an order. This conversation had escalated quickly, in the span of about 30 seconds, and I was pissed. I informed this person that they had failed to provide what I had ordered, and that I would be forced to seek compensation, all $3 worth. I asked how they preferred I go about seeking this compensation, hoping that they would succumb and just give me a $3 refund. However, to no one's surprise but my own, the restaurant told me to go ahead and file a chargeback because they had video proof and that I would lose that chargeback case. So I did exactly that. I called up my credit card company and filed a chargeback. This chargeback was for $3 on a $25 charge. Only $3, not the full charge. The agent with my credit card company offered to simply refund the $3 several times, but I insisted that it was the principle of it at this point, so I proceeded with the chargeback. There is paperwork that you have to fill out if a merchant contests a chargeback. About 3 months after initiating the chargeback, I get paperwork in the mail that instructs me to provide all of the proof I have. I provided no proof other than a recollection of what the merchant had stated, including them stating that they had video evidence of the bacon going into my order. I felt like I had already won at this point. It was costing them time and energy, and I was happy to fight the fight, all for the sake of $3. A couple of months after I submitted this follow-up paperwork, I get a letter from the credit card company stating that they had decided in my favor, and that the merchant was forced to credit me the $3. A big win for humanity. What many people don't know is that a chargeback costs the merchant, especially small merchants, and this cost can easily be upwards of $100, despite the chargeback being for only $3. Additionally, if a merchant has enough chargebacks, a card processor may increase the merchant's rates or discontinue a contract entirely. Basically, any chargeback a small merchant has on their record is bad. So, in all, the restaurant instructed me to file a chargeback. I wasted a ton of their time, ended up costing them in the neighborhood of $100 for the chargeback fee, and won the $3 that they should have just credited me in the first place. Well, I'm not sure what else there is to say about this story besides the fact that you don't mess with bacon. That's like the worst thing you could do, come on. It is interesting to hear in one of the comments below this story that OP still goes to this restaurant even after this whole fiasco. I don't know if I would trust the restaurant anymore after making them pay $100 for a chargeback, but I'd love to know your guys' comments. Comment down below, would you still go to a restaurant that you did that to? Or would you kind of avoid it because you wouldn't know what they were going to do to your food? Check out both OPs, they are linked in the description down below. I thank you for watching, I hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.